Okay, so these questions that we're about to go over are going to be just like what you're about to see on your quiz. We're going to go over like 13 questions, and your quiz has 14 questions. So there's one that I didn't give you an example of, and I'll tell you what that is in a little bit. So as far as number lines go, you're only going to have to show me number lines on the back of your quiz. And that's the two where it's an and or an or compound inequality. And it's in the directions to do that. Okay? So no number lines until you get to the back page of the quiz. Got it? So you just have to solve these. Remember when you're doing inequalities that the symbol, the less than or greater than, less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to, is just as important as the number answer. The symbol is just as important as the number. So make sure you get your symbols right as well. When do we flip symbols? Or what else by a negative? Or we multiply both sides by a negative. And are there any other cases when we flip our symbol? Yeah, if the variable is on the wrong side, right? We need variable, symbol, number in that order. All right, so number one, how would we solve that for W? Subtract 15 on both sides. So that gives us W is greater than what? 30. And that's all you do to that one. Any questions about number one? So you've got a lot of really simple ones like these as well. So number two, n divided by 4 is less than or equal to negative 3. So how do I solve that for n? Multiply by 4 on each side. So n is less than or equal to what? Negative 12. Was I supposed to flip my sign there? No, because I multiplied by a positive 4 on both sides. So number 3, negative 5c is less than or equal to negative 25. How do we solve for c? All right, if I go too fast, y'all slow me down, okay? So then put c is what? Greater than or equal to. Since I divided by a negative, I swapped my sign. And what is negative 25 by? Yes, it's 5. Any questions about that one? All right, y'all just make sure, though, if it's an or equal to, that you put an or equal to with your answer as well, okay? Don't leave off the or equal to part. Number 4 says negative 2y minus 3 is greater than or equal to 17. How are we going to solve that for y? Add 3 everywhere. So negative 2y is greater than or equal to what? 17 plus 3 is 20. And then how do we get y by itself? Which means we have to do what? So y is less than or equal to negative 10. Any questions about number 4? Okay. On number 5, you have a variable on both sides of the inequality symbol. So we need to get them together first. So what do y'all want to do to get your D's together? Yeah, I always like to move mine to the left no matter what when I have inequalities. It just makes it easier on me because sometimes I forget stuff. Right, so that's 10 minus 6d is greater than negative 8. Now what do we need to do to get d by itself? 10. So negative 6d is greater than what? Negative 18. And then what do we do to get d by itself? Swap our sign. So d is less than what? 3. So any questions on number 5? All right, number 6. What are we going to do first on number 6? We're going to distribute. So what's 3 times 2w? What's 3 times 1? And then copy the rest. Then what do y'all want to do? Yep, get your variables together. What is 6w minus 2w? Plus 3 is less than 15. And then what do we do? So 4w is less than what? 12. And then what do we do? And w, do I flip my sign? No, w is less than what? 3. Any questions about that one? We good? Number 7. What are we going to do first on number 7? Distribute. So what's 3 times 5? 3 times negative 6x is less than or equal to, what's 2 times 11? What's 2 times negative 9x? All right, and then we want to get our variables together. So I'm going to add the 18x to both sides. And what happens? What happens? The variables cancel out. So what do I write down? I don't just stop. I have to keep going with something. 15 is less than or equal to 22. Is that true or false? That is true. 15 is less, and those aren't even negatives, people. That's true. So what do we say if our variables cancel out and we're left with something true? All real numbers. So what do we say then? If our variables all cancel out and we're left with something that is actually for real false, we say no solution. So if it's true, all real numbers. If it's false, no solution. When the variables cancel out. Is everybody good with that? Okay. On number 8, you have to set up and solve it. So they give us the verbal expression. We have to write the inequality expression and solve it. Don't just write it and stop. Write it and solve it. It says the product of a number and negative 2 is at most 22. What does product mean? Okay, and then it says a number and negative 2. Did it tell us what variable we had to use? No, so that means you get to do what? Pick your own variable. I'm feeling n right now, n for number. So how do I do a product of negative 2 times n? Negative 2n. What symbol do we use for at most? At most means it cannot get higher than it, so that means it can be less than or equal to. So set it up, and then we solve it. How do we solve this for n? Divide by negative 2. And then you have to flip it. Good. Greater than or equal to what? Negative 11. So any questions about that one? Okay, so that is all stuff from Monday's lesson. Then we get stuff from yesterday's lesson. So if you weren't here yesterday, you need to pay really good attention to these next 3 problems. All right? The one that I didn't put on here that we have one like is one like this one. When the variables or the absolute value bars are already by themselves. So how would you work that first one that I did in red? Right, you set the inside equal positive 5 and negative 5 and solve them. Okay? So you have one like that in red. So let's do number 11. What do we have to do first on a problem like number 11? Subtract 1. You got to get your bars by themselves first, right? So 2 times the absolute value of x minus 3 equals what? 4. And then how do you get the bars by themselves now? Divide everything by 2. So the absolute value of x minus 3 equals 2. So that means you set what? What do you do? Yeah, the inside could equal 2, and the inside could equal negative 2 to make the absolute value a positive 2. And then you add 3 to both sides. X could equal 5 is one of my answers. And you add 3. And what do you get over here? X could equal what? 1. Children. So on absolute value equations, how many answers are you going to get? 2. Okay. And the last thing is your compound inequalities. And here's what the directions say. Solve it. Tell whether the inequality is an and or an or. And graph your solution on a number line. If you leave off the number line, I'm counting off half. These are 7 points apiece. Okay? So don't leave off the number line on the last 2 problems on the back page. They're the only problems on the back page. So and don't forget to tell me if it's an and or an or. So number 12, is it an and or an or? How do you know it's an and? It don't say or. Hunter, wake up. All right. So we got to get x in the middle completely by itself. So how do we do that? How do we get x alone in the middle? Subtract the 7 away. Got to do it everywhere. What's negative 1 minus 7? Is less than negative 2x is less than, what is 9 minus 7? 2. Now what do I need to do to get x by itself? Divide by negative 2. And what do I do to inequalities when I divide by a negative? Change all my signs. And what's negative 8 divided by negative 2? 4. And what is 2 divided by negative 2? Do I leave my answer like this? No. Okay, I got to go least to greatest with my numbers. And what about my signs? They have to be they have to be less thans, don't they? Or less than or equal to. So what we have to do is flip everything. So negative 1 is less than x is less than 4 is the correct answer. So numbers have to be less than, numbers have to be least to greatest, and your signs have to be less thans or equal to. And then don't forget your number line. I already said it was an and, didn't I? Okay. On your number line, make sure you at least include those two numbers. And do these get open circles or closed circles or what? They're both open. And where do we shade for ands? In the middle. So look for open circles or closed circles and shades in the middle. Any questions about number 12? Number 13, is it an and or an or? How do you know? It says or. So state the obvious and tell me it's an or. Or if you circle the word or, I'm good with that too. So how do you solve an or? Yeah, you just solve them both, right? And what do you need to include with your answer? An or. If you don't put or with your answer, I'm counting off 1 point. All right. So what do I do to solve for n on the first one? So 9n is less than 18. Divide by 9. And n is less than what? 2. Go ahead and put your or. And over here, what do I do? Minus 1. So 3n is greater than 12. Then what? And n is greater than 4. So you put those on a number line. Where do you shade for ors? And do these have open circles or closed circles? They're both open. So less than 2 goes this way. That's a big old fat circle. And positive 4 and greater than goes this way. Or shades opposite and shades together. So I think we have gone over everything for our quiz.